Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pitt Post-Game Show from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We're your Pitt beat writers, Chris Carter and Stephen Thompson. We are here after Pitt has won its fifth game in a row, starting out 5-0 for the first time since 1991 with their 34-24 win over North Carolina in Chapel Hill. Stephen Thompson is there. He was at Kenan Memorial Stadium. Stephen, this was a crazy game with big plays on all sides, but at least it didn't involve Pitt needing to come back at the last second.
Yeah, my game story was a little bit easier to write today. I was able to get it out right at the buzzer, so I do appreciate Pitt for not falling behind by double digits in the fourth quarter again. That was really kind of them to do this week.
It was. I imagine you were less stressed out than you have been the couple times this season. As always, we got to get into the good, bad, and ugly of this game. But first, before we do that, I want to remind you this show is brought to you by Edgar Snyder and Associates. Whether you're injured in a car accident or hurt on the job, Edgar Snyder and Associates has helped injury victims for over 40 years recover more than $2 billion on their behalf. If you or a loved one have been seriously injured in an accident, call 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit www.edgarsnyder.com for a free consultation. And remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. So let's get into a few things here, Stephen. Let's do our good, bad, and our ugly. I'll start, and I'm going to start with my good being the guy who maybe he needs to be up for the Heisman, and it's Desmond Reid. This guy comes out, 11 catches, 155 yards and a touchdown, 18 carries, 55 yards. Not impressive carry numbers, but he was just a grinder for Pitt. 210 yards of total offense from this guy. He continues to be a playmaker. He catches. He's like unstoppable when he runs out of the backfield. Caught all 11 of his targets, and even when he wasn't making the play, he was stopping the other team from making the play on a third down late in the game when Pitt's trying to ice it with a field goal and basically put themselves in a good position to win. Eli Holstein makes an ill-advised pass over the middle that could have been intercepted, and who comes to break it up but Des Reid. I can't say enough of how impressive he continues to be week after week, Stephen.
Yeah, and I think he's becoming a revelation to really every team that he plays. I mean, Pat Narduzzi talked about this guy a ton during the preseason, but I don't think any of us really bought into just how good Desmond Reid is. And it's games like this. I mean, it's games like Cincinnati where you just realize how critical he is to everything that Pitt does on offense. I mean, he is the engine that makes this thing go. I think about all the times that Eli Holstein has been not bailed out. That's not the right word, but he's used Reid as a safety blanket, as a easy place to dump the ball off when nothing else is there. And Desmond Reid is able to give you, 6, 7, 8. He's able to give you a first down almost automatically. I don't know what his final all-purpose yardage versus touches came out to today, but there was a point where he was averaging 10.3 yards per touch. It's an automatic first down. So his explosive playmaking is really unbelievable, and it's super critical to what Pitt does.
It really is. The more you see him, it's just he can make the simple play, but he can also beat you for such huge plays. It's ridiculous what he's able to do. And looking at that 210 divided by 29 touches, so like 7.2 yards per touch. And I think that number got the yardage got dragged down because Pitt gave him some obvious handoffs late in the game when they were just trying to run the clock and sent him into a loaded pile there. So certainly Des Reid is the good. What's your good from this game, Stephen?
Yeah, my good is the clutch defense. I mean, I don't think Pitt's defense was, fantastic during this game, but man, did they show up in the big moments. There were multiple times where they got driven deep into Carolina territory and forced field goals. They held Carolina to 2 of 6 on fourth downs. Those were huge. And that last fourth down stop, I mean, the last two, actually, I should say, were pretty extraordinary. I mean, there's the 4th and 1 stop deep in the red zone when Carolina had a chance to tie it up. Sean Fitzsimmons was leading the way. Brandon George had a stop in there as well. It was really a team effort up front, especially on a day where at times the defensive line didn't look like they were getting any kind of push against this Carolina team. And then obviously Kyle Lewis finishes it off with the lone sack of the day for the Panthers on the 4th down of the last possession. So this defense was far from perfect, as this entire team is, but their ability to adjust and their ability to make big plays when the game is on the line is pretty remarkable, and they showed that today.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there were several times, 4 straight fourth down stops. That's defining. And I think one that kind of stands out to me a little bit more than the others was a 4th and 1 in the red zone where Mac Brown said, hey, need to get points here. And he says, instead of getting a field goal, we're going to run it because you can't stop Amari and Hampton. And Brandon George meets Amari and Hampton in the hole and stones him. It was an impressive play, an impressive stop for Pitt. So good on the defense for that. But like you said, there was some not good from Pitt's defense, and that's going to be my bad. My bad's going to focus on the pass rush. Now, this is not to say the pass rush was non-existent because they were creating pressure. They were getting in the backfield. North Carolina's backup quarterback Jacoby Criswell was having to evade pressure throughout the game. Nate Matlack was getting back there. Sean Fitzsimmons was getting back there. But the problem was they couldn't get this guy down, and he kept letting him buy time. And then he made some really good decisions throughout the game. He didn't have an interception all game long. And again, he's the backup, so he didn't crush them. But if they were able to actually finish plays and get sacks, this would have been a blowout. They would have put North Carolina away so much earlier, but because they weren't able to finish, I think it really put Pitt in a tough situation. They were, again, this offense was supposed to lead the team, and they did. But when you look at how this game has, how this game is played, and the way that things could have gone, a couple bounces one way or the other, this could have gone against it. And Pitt's pass rush needs to be able to finish quarterbacks off to help seal the deal a lot sooner in future games.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, Nate Matlack has done a great job creating pressure, but he's got a little bit of what I would call Deion Hayes syndrome, which, we talked a lot about last year, where he's getting pressure, he's getting those opportunities to create sacks, but just not finishing them off. So they got to work on just kind of getting home. And sometimes that's a matter of situation. Sometimes you can't control everything that an offense does if they're either getting the ball out quick or, Criswell's a big kid too. That's the other thing. He was able to shake off a couple of tackles that I thought were pretty impressive. So, I thought overall the defensive line played okay, but, they could have been elite or really, really good if they were just able to finish off some of those big plays.
I agree. What's your bad from this game?
Yeah, my bad is the sloppiness with the football from the offense, especially in the first half. I mean, you didn't see it as much in the second, but kind of a rough game from Kenny Johnson. There were 2 moments, I think, on the same drive where he muffs a punt, and then a few plays later fumbles a handoff, has a botched exchange with Eli Holstein. I think Holstein might have been credited with the fumble, but Johnson was a part of that one well. And then, they were lucky enough to recover both of those, but then they're finally burned with their sloppiness with the ball when Eli Holstein throws a pick six. It goes back 84 yards and puts Pitt in a 7-3 hole. Just kind of mistakes that you can't really afford to make. And better teams than North Carolina are going to make Pitt really pay for it. So I think especially early, you can't make those kinds of mistakes, and Pitt's really got to clean up how they handle the football moving forward.
I agree with you there. Between the fumbles that they were fortunate wasn't recovered, the pick six and some drive killing penalties. There was a point where I think it was second quarter, Pitt's up a touchdown, the defense gets a stop, and they're deep in their own territory. But you could feel if Pitt can just throw that haymaker and hit that, go up by 2 touchdowns, that could put this game into a serious position where they could start running away with it. But what happens? They get a blindside block on the punt return. A holding call erases a 9-yard run for Eli Holstein. Another holding call erases a pass. A false start. 4 penalties in 4 plays, and it's just those type of things. Pat Narduzzi is going to lose his mind about when he gets into the film room and he's starting to point at things. Those guys. So sloppiness definitely something that they need to clean up. But again, kudos to them for being able to overcome it. Let's get to our ugly here. I'm going to lead off with my ugly, and it's kind of the counterpoint that I made in my good. It's also the point of my analysis article about how Pitt's superstar dependence on Desmond Reid is a double-edged sword, because it's great that Desmond Reid can get 200-plus yards of offense, can rip off touchdowns and 72-yard plays and everything like that. But they are going to wear their superstar down if they do not find a way to diversify and distribute the ball in different places. This offense has plenty of playmakers. Poppy Williams has shown it, and heck, he showed it in this game with a touchdown. But Kade Mumfield has shown it. Gavin Bartholomew, if they ever throw him the ball, could show it. Kenny Johnson has shown it. Sincere Lee has shown it. that's a lot of names that I just threw at you. And yet, when you look at this game, Desmond Reid accounted for almost exactly 50% of the touches in this game. You throw in Eli Holstein's rushes, and basically all the other skill players accounted for 35% of the touches in Pitt's offense. You got to be able to distribute that a little bit more. You got to find a way to keep Desmond Reid fresh, because late in this game, you saw him cramping up. Then he had to go to the locker room and he had to get looked at. And you want to have that guy when you're going up against Clemson, SMU, Louisville, the big games this year, to show, hey, you're not just beating up on mediocre, but Power 5, Power 4 teams. You're able to beat some teams that are considered, among the best in the country. And if you could do that, like these bells are ringing right now, as Steven sits at Chapel Hill. If you do that, you could put yourself in a series with position to win big games with your big player. But if you keep trotting him out there, I see this as something that could backfire. You do not want to wear this dude down to the nub. And listen, Desmond Reid's tough. He's not going to say that that's a problem. He's gonna say, yeah, feed me 50 times a game. But he's 5'8", 175. Being realistic, that is not the body type that's going to be able to take that on. And you don't need him to be, again, 15 to 18 touches a game. Perfect pace, especially with the way Kade Bell uses him. But get Rodney Hammond more involved. I know it's just his first game action of the year after being activated this week. Get other receivers involved a bit more, and I think things can ease up on Desmond Reid.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I mean, this is a game where you had Rodney Hammond available. Derek Davis was healthy. Daniel Carter was healthy too. You had other options at running back, and Pitt just really didn't use them very much. So Reid is carrying the load for this team, and he's been excellent in that role, but I don't think it's something that they can lean on for much longer, or they can lean on for the rest of the season, because, like you said, a guy, even if he was much bigger than Reid, he can only take so many hits. I mean, even Israel Bandicando, I think, was closer to 220 pounds.
Yeah.
He was only able to – he still had to miss some time as well during that outstanding 2022 season. So just make it easier on Reid, and things will get easier for the offense as well. You got to find some other playmakers to lean on.
Certainly. What's your ugly from the game?
Yeah, my ugly is honestly the crowd here at North Carolina, the crowd here at Kenan Stadium. I mean, it was homecoming weekend. It was a beautiful day, and I understand everything that's going on in the western part of the state here in North Carolina with Hurricane Helene having swept through. But Chapel Hill has been pretty untouched, and it was a pretty sparse crowd. I think they listed or announced 42,000 people attended this game. I don't think that was actual attendance. This is a program that's kind of in a bad state right now. I mean, they're losers of, I believe, 4 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. But in the ways that they have lost have been ugly as well. So I think some of the enthusiasm around Mac Brown's return to North Carolina is fading, and it seems like they're in for another sparse crowd next week when they host Georgia Tech.
Woof. That is not a good space to be in North Carolina. But you know what is a good space? The Pitt Panthers, 5-0, 1-0 in conference play. Steven, before we get out of here, I was watching the ESPN2 broadcast from my house, and as soon as the game cut off, they cut back to the studio, and they said, and the ESPN2 host of the post-game show said, that's a Pitt football team that will be ranked tomorrow. So I'll ask you, is Pitt football going to be ranked after this win? I know some people still doubt that they haven't beaten anybody of high significance yet.
Yeah, look, a lot of teams play some light schedules, especially early in the year. So 5-0 is 5-0. Being undefeated through 6 weeks is certainly an accomplishment. It'll be tough to be ranked. I think a lot of those teams in kind of the bottom fifth of the rankings were inactive this week. But SMU might pick up a big win. SMU and Louisville are playing each other. That could be a place where teams flip. UNLV lost this week. There could be some openings. Maybe Missouri moves down in the rankings a little bit, or kind of flip-flops with Texas A&M after a blowout win today. But I think Pitt should be ranked. I'm expecting them to be ranked. I think they'll need some things to break their way. But I think this is certainly, as of right now, a team that is playing like one of the top 25 teams in the country.
I think it's tough to deny their offense. They have star talent on it. Desmond Reid's catching that. And also, for our criticism about Eli Holstein and distributing the football, the pick six, this is his 5th straight game with 3 touchdown passes. And he's also tacked on his 2nd straight game with rushing touchdown, or at least 1 rushing touchdown. I think that people are going to have to at least notice the Pitt Panthers as they move forward, and they get a chance to play Cal next week at home. If you go 6-0, 2-0 in the ACC play, that'd be huge. And like I said, it's the first time since 1991 that a Pitt football team has started 5-0. Granted, you don't want to be like that 1991 team because they finished that season 1-5 and fell to a 6-5 record. That's not how this team wants their season to end. We will keep you up to date with all things Pitt football here at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Chris Carter and Stephen Thompson. Stephen, get out of there. Don't stay in that stadium too long. Need you back in Pittsburgh because I need somebody to sit at Pat Narduzzi's Monday press conference with me. But thanks again, Stephen, and thank you all for tuning into the North Shore Drive podcast's Pitt post-game show here from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Chris Carter, Stephen Thompson. We'll have our post-game Steelers coverage tomorrow as Brian, Jerry, and Ray are covering that. And then you'll see us again Tuesday for the Pitt Mailbag show here from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We'll see you then. Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.